Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're having a great day. Today we are going to be continuing our reading in our textbook. We're going to be reading a story called The Kabuliwala by Rabindranath Tagore. I apologize for my Indian pronunciation, as obviously I'm not Indian, and therefore my pronunciation is nowhere near to where it would be as if you were a native speaker. So keeping that in mind, I ask that you have patience with me while I'm reading. Before we begin, I am going to quickly review some vocabulary words with you today. The first word that I want you to know is chattering. Chattering means to talk. It means to talk a lot, okay? The next word is coaxes, C-O-A-X-E-S. Coaxes means to convince someone to do something. So if you coax someone to go play with you, it means you convince them or get them to go play with you. The next word that I want you to know is solemnly. Solemnly means quite seriously. We can think of it in terms of our actions. We can say serious. Solemnly is our word. The next one I want you to know is actually tempted. Now, tempted means to be swayed. So if you are tempted into something, it means you are convinced to do something, or you may know that it's not a very good thing for you to do, but you're tempted to do it anyway. You want to do it anyway. The next vocabulary word is going to be quarrel. Quarrel means to fight. So if you quarrel with someone, say you quarrel during quarantine with your brother or your sister or your parents, it means you argue or you fight with them. In the sense of the story, it means to literally fight, like a fist fight with someone. Okay? The final word that I want you to know is vigor, depending on how you pronounce it. Vigor means energy, so it means like life. So if you are full of vigor, it means you're full of energy, you're full of life. Maybe you have, you exude like power and that kind of stuff. So that's what that means. According to the textbook, the word Kabuliwala actually means a person from Kabul. So it would be he in the story, the Kabuliwala is he's a trader. He sells fruits from Kabul. Okay, so I know that was very quick, but I want you to pay attention to this. The background of the story. The story is set in 20th century Kolkata. So this is in actually the 1900s, okay? So it's about a little girl named Minnie and a Kabuliwala, or a fruit peddler from Afghanistan, who become friends. And it's quite shocking because typically at that time, people didn't really mix between different places. So if you were from Kabul or Afghanistan, then you would not mix with someone from India or Kolkata. So we know now that it is okay, and everybody from everywhere is equal. Okay? And you even have a teacher from a different place in the world. So that can show you just how different times are from when this story was originally written and set. Okay, so keeping that in mind, once again, my pronunciation, I beg your pardon, and I ask that you work with me. So we're gonna get started. My 5-year-old daughter, Minnie, cannot live without chattering. She keeps chattering all day long. I often joke that all her life, Minnie has not wasted a single minute in silence. Minnie's constant chatter bothers her mother so much that she often coaxes Minnie to stop talking. I avoid telling Minnie to stop chattering. I think it's very unnatural for my daughter to be quiet. and I cannot bear her silence for long. Hence, I always keep my conversations with her as lively as possible. One morning, Minnie came into my room, placing her hand on my hand and said, "Father, Ramdayal, the doorkeeper, calls a crow a kawa." He doesn't know anything, does he? Before I could get down to explaining the differences in languages in this world, she moved on to another subject. "What do you think, Father? Bola says that there's an elephant in the clouds. The elephant often blows water out of his trunk, and that's why it rains." While I sat still, trying to think of an answer, Minnie changed the subject again. "Father, what relation does Mother have with you?" she questioned me. At last, I solemnly said, "Go and play with Bola, Minnie. I am busy." Instead of stepping out, Minnie sat down on the floor near my feet and started drumming her fingers on my knee. I continued to work, keeping a close watch on her. In minutes, Minnie was on her feet. She ran to the window, exclaiming, "Kabuliwala, Kabuliwala!" As I walked to the window, I noticed a Kabuliwala in the street below. He wore loose, soiled clothes and had a high turban on his head. He was carrying a bag on his back, and in his hand was a box of nuts. Minnie called out loudly to the Kabuliwala. He turned around and looked up at the child. Minnie got scared and ran away. Somebody had once told Minnie that inside the Kabuliwala's bag there were little children like her. Minnie felt that the Kabuliwala went to different homes and took away their children in his bag. As Minnie called out to the Kabuliwala, he stopped at the entrance to my house. I decided to step down and buy something from him. The minute the Kabuliwala saw me, he greeted me with a smile on his face. After I had purchased some nuts from him, the Kabuliwala asked, "Where is the little girl, sir?" I called out to Minnie. Still scared, she stepped out and quickly hid behind me. The Kabuliwala politely offered her some nuts. However, that added to her fear. Not tempted by the nuts, she only clung closer to me. This was their first meeting. However, a few days later, I was startled to find Minnie seated on a bench near the door, laughing and talking with the Kabuliwala. The corner of her little dress was stuffed with almonds and raisins, gifts from her new friend, the Kabuliwala. "Why did you give her those?" I asked, offering him 8 annas. The man accepted the money without any argument. Alas, on my return an hour later, I found Minnie playing with the money that I had given the Kabuliwala. When Minnie's mother saw the bright, round object in Minnie's hand, she reacted sharply. "Where did you get that money from?" she questioned Minnie. "The Kabuliwala gave it to me," Minnie said cheerfully. Minnie's mother was a very timid person. She was not particularly fond of the Kabuliwala. She exclaimed, "The Kabuliwala gave it to you? Oh, Minnie, how could you take it from him?" I entered just at that moment and saved Minnie from the scolding she was about to get from her mother. I took Minnie aside and asked her about the Kabuliwala. I discovered that this was not their first meeting. The Kabuliwala had overcome the child's fear by bribing her with nuts and almonds. The two were great friends now. They shared many jokes. When Minnie would spot the Kabuliwala, she would ask him jokingly, "Oh, Kabuliwala, what have you got in your bag?" Much to her amusement, he would reply, "An elephant." Then the Kabuliwala would ask Minnie, "Well, little one, when are you going to your father-in-law's house?" Not knowing what to say, Minnie would ask the Kabuliwala when he was going to his father-in-law's house. Among the men of the Kabuliwala class, it is well known that the phrase father-in-law's house means jail. "Ah," the Kabuliwala would say, shaking his fist at an invisible policeman, "I will thrash my father-in-law." Hearing this, Minnie would go off into peals of laughter. This is how the conversation between Minnie and the Kabuliwala would go. Once a year, in the middle of January, the Kabuliwala would return to his country across the border. Before returning home, he would be very busy, going from house to house to collect his debts. However, he could always find time to come and visit Minnie. One morning, a few days before he was going to visit his home, I was sitting in my study. All at once, I heard an uproar in the streets below. Looking out the window, I saw the Kabuliwala being led away by two policemen. There were bloodstains on his clothes. One of the policemen was carrying a knife, which probably belonged to the Kabuliwala. I rushed downstairs. I gathered that my neighbor had owed the Kabuliwala some money. He failed to return the money, and it led to a quarrel between him and the Kabuliwala. During the heated argument, the Kabuliwala had struck my neighbor, who immediately called the police. When Minnie saw the Kabuliwala being led away by the police, she exclaimed, "Oh, Kabuliwala, Kabuliwala!" Seeing her, his face lit up. Minnie asked innocently, "Are you going to your father-in-law's house?" He laughed and said, "That is just where I'm going, little one. I would have thrashed that old father-in-law, but my hands are bound." But the Kabuliwala was sent to jail for several years. Time passed by, and Minnie forgot all about the Kabuliwala. She had grown into a young woman, and her marriage was fixed. The marriage was to take place later. I was sitting in my study, looking through the accounts, when someone entered. He saluted me respectfully and stood before me. It was the Kabuliwala. At first, I did not recognize him. He had no bag. His hair was short, and he no longer had the same vigor that he used to have. He smiled, and I remembered him at once. "When did you return?" I asked him. "Last evening I was released from jail," he said. "There are ceremonies going on today," I said. "I am busy. Could you come back another day?" At once, he turned to go. But as he reached the door, the Kabuliwala hesitated. Turning around, he said, "May I see the little one for a moment?" He thought that Minnie would look the same as before. He had conjured up an image of Minnie running to him, calling, "Oh, Kabuliwala, Kabuliwala!" He had imagined that they would laugh and talk together, just like the good old days. I said again, "There is a ceremony in the house, and you will not be able to see anyone today." His face fell. He looked at me for a moment and went out. However, he soon returned with almonds and raisins in his hands. "I brought these for the little one. Will you give them to her?" I took them and was going to pay him, but he caught my hand and said, "You are very kind, sir. Do not offer me money. You have a little girl. I have one, too, like her in my own home. I think of her and bring nuts for your child." He then put his hand in his pocket and brought out a worn piece of paper. He unfolded the paper and showed it to me. The paper had the impressions of tiny ink-smeared hands of his daughter. This made me realize how big Minnie had grown and how she would soon be a stranger for me. My eyes were filled with tears when I heard of him speak of his daughter. I sent for Minnie immediately from the inner apartment. As she arrived, adorned as a bride, the Kabuliwala was surprised to see how much she had changed. However, he smiled and said, "Little one, are you going to your father-in-law's house?" Minnie understood the meaning of the word father-in-law's house, but she stood still. She had no memory of the Kabuliwala and refused to talk to a stranger. I took out a banknote and handed it over to the Kabuliwala. "Go back to your daughter, to your own country. Your happiness will be a blessing for my daughter." The present proved a little expensive for me, and I had to cut down on the electric lights I had planned for the wedding. However, a mere thought of a happy reunion between a father and a daughter in some faraway land seemed to brighten the festivities. That's the end of our story. Quickly, I want to recap what happens. The beginning of the story, we are introduced to the narrator, or the person who's telling our story, as the father of the little girl Minnie. She quickly becomes friends with the Kabuliwala, the man from Kabul. He is arrested, fairly or unfairly. It's for your opinion and you to decide in your comprehension questions today. Remember that as you decide whether this was fair or unfair, his arrest, you have to support yourself with evidence from our story. For example, if you believe that it was fair, you have to tell me why you think it's fair. If you think it was unfair and he should not have been arrested, then you have to tell me why. Okay, so he's arrested, and then later on, many years passed. Obviously, the little girl becomes a woman, and she is about to get married, and the Kabuliwala is released from prison, and then he tries to meet her, but she does not remember him. So that's the end of the story as we know it, as is written in our textbook. Now the rest of the story is actually in a separate place, and if you'd like that, please ask, or we can look it up for you. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a wonderful day.